Here is how to answer a difficult MMI question. Question. The United States government has noticed an increasing trend in childhood obesity and its negative impact on health. To try and combat this, the U.S. government is implementing a mandatory daily physical education curriculum for all students from kindergarten to grade 12. What are your views on this policy?
So this kind of policy is quite relevant to today to be able to discuss it, since obesity rates are rising in Canada as well as America and in a lot of the first world countries. And so these kinds of policies always have certain pros and cons as well. I think that in this case, it would be a pro because it would, at least in the short term, try to make some progress in solving the childhood obesity rates to be able to implement physical education curriculum like this. I think that it would be a good in terms of a short-term solution. And if done properly in a way where the children end up liking it, I think another pro is that it can form a lifelong habit of enjoying to be active and implementing that even after grade 12 when it is no longer mandatory. So in those cases, I think it can be a positive thing. However, on the other hand, it can also be negative in that children a lot of the times don't like it when something is forced on them. And so it can create a negative reaction of not wanting to be active just because it is forced on them every single day while they're at school. And then another thing that is not necessarily positive is if it's not sustainable in certain aspects of it. For example, a lot of the times children have recess in school, and that is their time to be active in a creative way and being able to go outside. However, for certain climates in the US, there are 50 different states and they all have different climates. In certain climates in the school year, during the months of, say, December to February, it can be often too cold to go outside. And so all of a sudden, it might not be super sustainable to have this kind of, you are forced to go outside to be active when it might be too cold for it to be healthy for the children. As well, for certain schools in certain socioeconomic statuses or communities, it's also not sustainable to have this just because the school building itself is run down or they don't have proper sports equipment to be able to provide for the children, things like this. And so I think overall, it can be a positive thing if done correctly in a way where it is sustainable for all the schools and in a way where it is not too forced on the children, but creates in them the incentive or wanting to build that habit of staying active in their life as they continue to grow up as well. I think if anything, we should focus less on forcing children to be active and more on focusing to provide support to the schools and the communities and even some of the families that might need extra support in maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Things like building community centers where children can be active in and outside of the school year, as well as being able to provide certain improvements in communities where there are food deserts, for example, where it is not sustainable to have a healthy lifestyle just due simply to not having accessibility to healthy foods as well. Thank you.
How did you feel about your answer for this?
I thought it was okay. I felt like I don't know if it came off, but I felt myself getting lost in the middle a little bit, but I tried to regain it without showcasing that too much.
Yeah, as someone who saw your other policy answer, I definitely got that you struggled a little bit on this one, or more, I should say, than compared to the other policy question. That being said, I think you did overall a good job on it.
Mm-hmm.
So you definitely used that structure. You had mentioned that this is rising in Canada, where you're from, also America, which is where this question is placed.
Mm-hmm.
And you gave some pros. So in the short term, you had kind of mentioned that it would help. And then your other pro is that in the long term, you would then build that habit. So to me, it kind of felt like they were rather similar, that you're kind of providing the short-term gain with healthy lifestyle, and then it becomes a long-term habit.
Okay.
So that to me was kind of one pro in my mind. I think you could have maybe expanded it to think about a different party involved, for example.
Okay.
So if we kind of think about the school, for example, or teachers, having this physical activity might give students a way to kind of relieve some of that excess energy so that they can be more focused in class, knowing that they have that physical activity time.
Mm-hmm.
If we're thinking about the parents, this could provide some more education towards physical activity through this type of program. Having the kid be involved and being more active, they will then know kind of that lifestyle and be able to kind of replicate that at home potentially. That one may be a little bit of a stretch, but something that you could consider as well. And then for the cons, I thought the cons were approachable. So you dealt with the side of things, that they don't like to be forced to do anything. They don't like to be forced to do things. Once again, it might be hard to get them to participate. Also, kind of similar to a question we had last time as well, thinking about their autonomy. Do they have to participate? And are there some students that might feel, what's the word, discriminated? Right? Maybe they broke their leg. Of course, anyone that also is disabled potentially could have issues with this, and they might feel discriminated against during this mandatory time. You also said that this might not be sustainable, so thinking about the kind of school as a whole in this case. And yeah, it might be hard to go outside depending on the weather, hard to organize if they only have kind of that one indoor gym. Making sure another alternative direction that you could have taken this as well is that this would then take time from other aspects. It might be harder to learn, or it has to take time from something. So maybe this cuts out from music program or some of these other optional, or I don't want to say optional, but less, what's the word I'm looking for? The less kind of common subjects, math and science and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it would have to take time from somewhere.
No, and I could be more explicit about it too.
Yeah, that you are against this policy that forces it, but you are for promoting this healthy lifestyle. I think that might have been a better way to go about it to make it more clear, but
more videos will be coming your way to help you tackle every MMI question you will face during your med school interview. We can't wait to help you get accepted to your dream school.